everyone. How are you doing this Tuesday morning on our coast, over here on the West Coast? I'm Rebekah Mosley, the co-founder of Laughing Place, and with me is Heather of MEI Mouse Fan Travel. We're going to talk about Disneyland food. How you doing, Heather?
I'm good. How are you, Rebekah?
I'm fine. I'm excited to talk about food. So,
I
woohoo!
think this is my most passionate Disney topic ever, so I'm happy to talk about this today.
Well, I thought I'd kind of get started by sharing one of the funny aspects of discussing food. And that is we asked on our Facebook page for people to share with us some of the things that they're particularly fond of over at the Disneyland Resort, which is going to be our focus today. And the first two comments on our Facebook were about the love of the Monte Cristo sandwich at the Blue Bayou. And I know for a lot of people, this is kind of one of those, I want to say like bucket list items, right? It's like, I want to eat at the Blue Bayou. I want to sit there on the water's edge. And so it was funny to me, Heather, I looked on TripAdvisor to see reviews of Disneyland restaurants because I was kind of curious, overall how people out there receive it. And one of the first comments under Blue Bayou was an individual who just excoriated, just tore the place apart for the disgusting Monte Cristo sandwich. It's nothing but a donut. That's how it was. It was all this fried dough with just a little bit of meat, a little bit of cheese. And I just had to laugh because it was one of those things, like I say, everybody I know has, it's like one of those things they have to try once. Have you tried the Blue Bayou's Monte Cristo?
A very, 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 very long time ago because I'm vegan, so that doesn't work for me anymore.
Right.
But I do, honestly, it was probably like 15, 20 years ago, and I do remember enjoying it.
Yeah, my husband's a vegetarian, so for him, they took out the meat, and it would just be seriously, it was just cheese, the dough, and fried.
I mean,
So it was.
what is wrong with a grilled cheese? Nobody who doesn't like grilled cheese.
So with that in mind, Heather and I are going to share some of our favorite places around Disneyland. And let's see, we've got a comment in the chat here. Yeah, see, Juby says, do they still have the vegetarian one? I remember having that, and it was one of the joys. Last I checked, it did. By the way, the Monte Cristo, it is served with a jam along the side that's kind of a bit tart. So it does a nice job of kind of cutting into the amount of fat, quite frankly. When you take cheese and meat and you put it in dough and you fry it, it's fat. And they dust it with powdered sugar. It really is a donut sandwich in many ways. But sitting there on the edge of the attraction, it's one of the few locations where you're dining inside a ride. How wild is that?
Yeah, they have a couple in Asia where you can do that, but that's really the only one stateside, unless you count Pinocchio Village House quick service if you're lucky enough to get one of those tables over in Florida. But I think the draw of Blue Bayou is the location, the atmosphere. I personally don't love the food there. Like I said, vegan doesn't appeal to me. So, like you were saying at this story, it's all personal preference, but I think it's hard to find a location in Disney that is more magical than Blue Bayou.
For sure. That's actually where Doobie and I went for dessert after he proposed. So to give you an idea of how it, as Disney fans, that's kind of what we ended up doing that special evening. So knowing you're vegan, I'm going to ask you, let's kind of start off with picturesque settings. We're talking about the beauty that is Blue Bayou. As a vegan, where is a place at Disneyland that you would sit to just take in the view and enjoy something?
My favorite restaurant in all of Disneyland also happens to be what I think has the best view in all of Disneyland, and that's Lamplight Lounge over at California Adventure Park. And there's two options that you have. You can either try to eat upstairs in the outdoor bar area, or you can get reservations at the restaurant, which is downstairs, but they also have an outdoor patio. So I like to get a reservation. go downstairs, sit on the outdoor patio. They have comfy couches and fire pits, and you're sitting basically right next to the Incredicoaster where it takes off, and you have this gorgeous view over Pixar Pier, and you hear the theme park sounds, and you're just like you're literally in the middle of the park, and it is so very cool. And if you go on the weekends, they have a weekend brunch menu. You could sit there and have the best food. I recommend their flautas. They are a thing of legend. This is only on weekends. They don't do the brunch during the week. And then they have this like book of cocktails. And they're so creative and so special. Like if you like to Instagram your food, this is the place you go. And you take the videos and the pictures of your cocktails with the beautiful background and then just watch all of the rides happen. You can sit there for hours. It's incredible.
One of the things I love about dining in Disney theme parks, I appreciate the app and its ease of use as far as dining goes. I find it's a struggle in many, many other areas, but as far as going to the parks, the dining, the new, like the mobile order option and just the availability of reservations and everything. If you are unaware, there's actually been a change recently within that app and on the website as well. Here, I'll pull it up on the screen. When you're looking for your dining, you can now click out and see consecutive days. I don't know if you've used the app in the past, but you would have to kind of flop back and forth in order to, oh, it's not available today. Oh, maybe it'll be available on Wednesday while I'm here. Or maybe you flop back and forth between other restaurants. It wasn't as convenient as they've made it now. Have you had a chance to explore this yet? Because I've been playing around with it already.
I haven't played around with it yet, but I've read up on it and I'm so happy because like you said, like what if you want Blue Bayou and you put it in your schedule as it's going to be Monday night, but of course it's already booked up on Monday night because it's the hardest reservation to get. Now you can look and say, okay, Blue Bayou is the most important restaurant for me on this trip. It's available on Wednesday afternoon, and then you can plan everything else around that. And I think that's fantastic. And also, you mentioned mobile order. What's most exciting for me is that they changed the mobile order on the app now too, so that when you're in the parks, they will show you restaurants closest to you that have mobile order available, or you can search by which has the quickest return time. So if you're starving right now and you just have to have something in your stomach, it'll tell you where you can get your food the fastest. And I love that.
And one of the things that I've discovered using the app is, for example, here you have the Jolly Holiday Bakery Cafe. This is on Main Street, USA. You see how it says order food or view menu? If you click view menu, it's purely text. But if you click order food, you're able to browse the menu with pictures of the items. So you don't have to, order right here. You can back out of it. This isn't locking you into you have to order in this moment. But yeah, so, you select your time and you can kind of peruse the menu a little bit with the pictures so you have a better idea of what you're going to end up seeing once you arrive, or obviously you can make your mobile order. Speaking of which, that is going to be one of my tips for today. I like to carry my Disney magic to the next day by placing an order at Jolly Holiday Bakery for the latest moment in my day, and I'll pick up something and take it with me out of the park from Jolly Holiday.
I'm the opposite. I put my Jolly Holiday order for the first thing. Like I literally wake up and I'm like, oh, is it open yet? And as soon as mobile order opens for Jolly Holiday, I order my coffee and my pastry and I'm good to go because I'm not waiting in the Starbucks line. I want the coffee from Jolly Holiday.
Okay, I'll admit I hit it twice. I do that, and then I also hit it up for the next day. I've over the years I've brought out mozzarella sandwiches. I've brought out cinnamon rolls. If I happen to be leaving and getting on a plane and heading straight home, I will grab a sandwich that I will take with me to eat on the plane on the way home from Jolly Holiday Bakery.
How do you feel about the Matterhorn macaroon there?
Oh man, okay. I love the Matterhorn macaron there, but I am also extremely partial to their cold brews. The one they have right now, this chimney sweep, it has a smoky flavor. And one of the things I discovered, Heather, on this last trip is while they give you a straw, a lot of times with these cold brews, dump the straw because the flavors are in that cream, in that nice foam layer, and you kind of miss out on it if you just shove the straw in there, right? You got to sip it and get it all together.
That's a good tip because I didn't know that. That's a good one.
Yeah, no, it's this, especially with this chimney sweet cold brew, because it's got a hickory, some sort of hickory.
I had that when I was there a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, no, it was a little too cold for me that morning, and so I went with a latte, and now I guess I have to go back and try it.
I may have had 2 of those on my last trip. Speaking to the variety of locations at Disneyland, if you've only been to Walt Disney World, here, let me pull up a map. So see Spaceship Earth all the way over to Regal Eagle Smokehouse. That's going to be about almost a mile walk. You're looking at 8/10 of a mile from Spaceship Earth to Regal Eagle, right? Okay, so let's pull up the Disneyland Resort. Roger Rabbit Cartoon Spin. That's like the farthest back end of Disneyland. You can walk through Disneyland, out the main entrance, and most of the way down their downtown Disney district to the Jazz Kitchen, and you're looking at the same walking distance as within Epcot. So to give you an idea, as you start to evaluate and consider where you want to eat, when you're in the park, don't think, I can't pop out to downtown Disney, because you can.
Yeah, that's the charm of Disneyland. And I think that if you've never been there and you hear how small it is, you're almost like, oh, why do I want to go? But the charm is in its size, and you can get anywhere within 20 minutes, give or take, probably even less. And, like you said, I want to eat at downtown Disney, or this is the only place that has availability. You don't have to feel like you're rearranging your entire day. You can go eat and be back in the park within the hour.
We actually we kind of broke out as a family. Our son is now a teenager, and we actually broke out as a family, did our own thing, and met up at Napolini, which is one of the first locations there at downtown Disney. And, like I say, it was very, very simple right there. We know he loves pizza, he was in that go, gotta do as much as I can mode. So we grabbed a slice of pizza. We were sitting there at a table waiting for him. He showed up, ate his pizza, and ran back right in the park while we had a nice leisurely meal.
Right, like you got to relax.
Exactly. And speaking to that, there's a few locations in the park that have rather like kinetic views. And one of them that comes to mind for me that was really popular with my son when he was little was Hungry Bear Restaurant. Yeah. It has that more familiar kind of theme park menu, right? Your burgers, your chicken fingers, but it sits out on the rivers of America. And I don't know about you, Heather, but sitting there with the boats going by, the train passing every so often, it's a great place. And I could get him to sit and actually pay attention and eat his
food. I'm going to throw out for a quick service with a beautiful view, the Plaza Inn. It's right on the corner of Main Street. And especially it's a quick service, but they don't do typical quick service food. They have, meatloaf, fried chicken, this incredible pasta Alfredo, all these cakes that are like this big, like huge slices of cake. The food is phenomenal, but if you sit there in the afternoon and you time it right, you're going to be right on the parade route. And so you'll see the floats and all the characters go by, and it's a nice way to you're not right on the curb. You're far enough back that you feel like you're removed from the crowds, but you still get to see the parade go by, which is nice.
That is one of the great elements about Disney dining, is they not have places like Plaza Inn. A little bit further down Main Street, you have Carnation Cafe. That's a full service. You sit down, you have someone come to your table, take your order, and you're able to kind of slow down the pace of your day, but yet you're still like right in the midst of the action. I'm still kind of mourning. My favorite breakfast place at Disneyland was Riverbell Terrace, and they now don't open until later.
That was a great breakfast place. Yeah.
Because if you head right over to the Riverbell Terrace, that first thing in the morning, it was rather quiet on the river, and you could watch it slowly come to life as more and more people kind of made their way out to Norland Square. And oh man, I would go out there often to have pancakes and a nice cup of coffee. Donna chiming in with, yep, Hungry Bear. great place to regroup, relax a little bit within the park. Yes, I totally agree.
Mhm.
Bloom coming in. Hi, I'm just joining you now. Well, let us know. What's a favorite spot that you have on your list when you're dining at Disneyland? You got that right. Dining at Disneyland. Oh, man, I'm getting hungry thinking
I
about
know.
all good.
Maybe we should have done this after lunch.
Okay, so we've talked. So we've been talking about some of the places that we think the views are beautiful. I want to toss out flavors that I look forward to experiencing, and one of them for me, which was a total surprise, is over at Pim Kitchen, and it's the carne asada pretzel.
Oh, I've only had the big, like the giant pretzel, but
Yeah,
obviously,
the quantum.
yes, but obviously not the carne asada.
No,
So,
knowing you're vegan, I figured this wasn't going to be on your list. But the carne asada pretzel, it is a nice layer of flavors and textures, and it's a pretzel dish, which still I have a hard time wrapping my head around because you have a pretzel with the carne asada, and then you have Oaxaca cheese, and you
oh,
have a little bit of heat with some peppers. And they also have a little bit of crisp to them, so a really nice, like I say, you've got that pretzel bread, you've got the fat and heartiness of the carne asada meat, and then the heat and the nice of the cheese. So really well balanced. And seriously, just a pretzel dish at Pim Kitchen. What's a flavor that when you're going to Disneyland, you're like, yes, I get to eat this again?
my first thing that I always go to is back at Ronto Roasters. They have the Ronto Less Roaster, which is basically their vegan sausage version. They don't have this in Florida. You can only get it at Galaxy's Edge here in Disneyland, and it comes in a pita. It's a plant-based sausage. It's got like this spicy slaw and spicy vegan mayo on it, and it's just something about all of these flavors together that it's so delicious. And I go with normal, quote unquote, normal eaters, and I make them taste test the regular Ronto roaster versus the Ronto-less, and every single time it's always the Ronto-less roaster that's better. So even if you eat meat, go get the Ronto-less roaster. It's better, and it's my favorite thing in all of Disneyland.
Wow. Okay, I haven't had that. I'm gonna have to put that on my list. And if you're wondering,
You only get it in California, so it's kind of like a specialty item, I guess.
oh, very cool. And Heather is with our friends over at Mouse Fan Travel. And if you're considering a Disneyland vacation, or frankly, any vacation, we suggest you contact the people over at Mouse Fan Travel. You can get a free, no obligation quote on your vacation plans. And they are so knowledgeable. They'll help you out with all your travel needs. So wanted to be sure we mention that, and thank Heather again for her time as we talk about Disney foods. But I mean, this is one of those things that sprung out of the various chats that Heather and I have had on other subjects. We always ended up talking about food after we were
so well. It's my favorite thing about the parks is going to eat the new foods, and especially Disneyland. They are constantly changing their menus. Like the classics stay, but especially for snacks and quick foods, it's like every month there's a new celebration going on, or they've added this churro flavor, and so it's constantly changing, and they always sound so good.
An example of that is over at the Red Rose Tavern. This is a nice little eatery. It's similar to the Village House in Walt Disney World, if you're familiar with that, at the Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World, and it's in Fantasyland. And they have this little dish there. It was called the Gray Stuff, and
Mm.
it was a shortbread cookie, and it has the nice, gray whipped foam, on top, kind of a I'm trying to think, is it like a whipped cream almost, kind of?
It's kind of like a buttercream-ish.
Yeah.
It's not quite a frosting, but it's a frosting. Like, it's a little bit lighter than frosting.
Yeah, and they've had this dish, and it's been the Gray Stuff, and then I think for the Sweethearts Night they called it the Love Stuff, and it was pink and it had little hearts all over it, and
They
now
did
it's
this for St. Patrick's Day. Well, I was there in very early March, so like a couple weeks before St. Patrick's Day, and they changed it to be a green. I think it was just called the Green Stuff, but
I
like they
believe
made
it.
it a really cute St. Patrick's Day dessert.
And now it's the Spring Stuff, and so it's got the kind of that the pastels of spring on it. So you always can find something a little different about it. This one has a red velvet center, So you've got that red velvet cake surrounded by that stuff and then sprinkled with springtime surprise. Doobie pointing out that at the cart by the hub, this is the one that's over by the the Princess meet and greet and the Storyteller Theater over there, whose names I can't remember because I'm still locked into the mode that it's Carnation Gardens, even though that was probably 20 years ago. But they have these knots of bread. They're like garlic knots.
Okay.
They're so.
I've seen the twist bread, but I've not seen the knots.
Yeah, it is. It's like it exactly. It's like a twisted bread. It's garlic. It was delightful. And then over at Black Tap's window at Downtown Disney, you can get those shakes that are like a shake and like a giant piece of cake on top or a cupcake on top.
So I grew up in New York, and that is where Black Tap originated. And so my whole like teenage life was spent at Black Tap, either getting their burgers or their crazy shakes. And so when they brought one out here, I don't think anybody got to Anaheim faster than I did. I was like, oh, it's a piece of home. And their shakes, they have vegan ones too, are so incredible. You have to share them with 2 or 3 people. You can't have them by yourself. They have like donuts or like chunks of cake on top of them, and then ice cream and sprinkles and whipped cream. They're delicious. They're so good.
And another thing I like nearby in Downtown Disney is over at Ballast Point, because they have amazing beers. And so I've stopped by there for beer flight. So you can get a sampling of 4 different beers. You can build it yourself, and have a little bit of a nice late afternoon or evening treat. Yes.
Back to our category of best views. I feel like Ballast Point and Splitsville also, like, they don't come to mind, but they have these gorgeous outdoor patios where you can watch all of Downtown Disney happen. And especially when live music is playing down there, that's a great place to be.
And Doobie jumping right on that fact that they have vegan offerings, because that's also helpful if you're lactose intolerant.
And they change them seasonally, Doobie.
Ooh, Doobie
just like our friends at Salt and Straw just down the way, they have a full vegan menu of like 5 or 6 options on top of their regular ice cream menu.
So this place I'm going to mention, it's kind of strange for me in that, it's Flo's V8 Cafe over at California Adventure. It has the nice patio that looks out over the Radiator Springs location. But the weird thing is I can't remember the last time I actually ate the restaurant's food.
I feel like I had one probably like last year, and it was okay.
But I grab food and then I end up taking it there, like, because you've got the cozy cone with all those interesting little cone treats. Right around the corner is San Francisco with the ramen bowls and the bread bowl dishes and everything. And then this last trip was during Food and Wine Festival, and so I grabbed the mimosa flight from the Golden Dream. That was
so good. That was so good, that flight. My husband was trying to share it. I'm like, no, my champagne. Go get something else.
I grabbed it and I sipped it over by Radiator Springs.
Yes.
That's what I did. I grabbed it. I sat over there at a table at Radiator Springs and enjoyed that beautiful view with my mimosa flight, which I was alone in the park that day, so I didn't have to worry about trying to share. It was perfect. Which one was your favorite? Because there was a what? It was a hibiscus.
There's hibiscus. There was, I want to say something with a peach, and then there was like the honey lavender. And I thought the honey lavender was the one I was going to like the least, but it was going to be so sweet, and it actually wasn't. It was almost like a little bit like bitter, and it was so delicious. And I was like, I'm just gonna go back and get a glass of this.
It was. I was really surprised. The one that I thought I would like the least ended up being the one I enjoyed the most. I was fond of the hibiscus. It kind of reminded me a little bit of that Starbucks red tea, because I think that's a hibiscus tea.
I love that tea. It does, yeah.
So it reminded me very much of that. Speaking of Starbucks, if you are a Starbucks addict, do not worry. They do have them in the Disney theme parks. Yeah, but they don't look the same. So it's a unique experience to even go to the Starbucks inside, Disneyland or Disney California Adventure. It's just be ready for that. But it's got all the things most of the things you're familiar with. I think almost all the things you're familiar with, but it just will look visually like a Disney
Yeah, there's a lot of Easter eggs, especially in the one in California Adventure. So like if you are a hardcore Disney fan, it's worth grabbing a coffee and just taking some time to like read all the posters and look at everything that's on the wall.
Getting back to flavors, I look forward to and have on my list. I have become a really big fan of Tiana's Palace. Not only is it really beautiful, the setting here, let me pull up a picture real quick so I can show you, because it is just one of those things where it's like stepping into a storybook. We actually were fortunate enough, Tiana stopped by while we were dining there. This is where you pick up your food. If you order through mobile, you'll get it in a like a white bag with all your food in there, and then you can go and find a seat, or you can walk up and order. And it's similar to like a buffet in feel, but not necessarily in actual. You're not grabbing the food, but it's that type of dynamic. But their gumbo was really flavorful. The one that we had was a vegetarian based, and it was really tasty. The people nearby us, like the tables nearby us, I could tell the buzz was all very positive. All the families nearby. One of the things that's surprising, Heather, is that we're beginning to see more heat make its way into theme park food, and that was the case here. It had enough heat that it stuck with you a little bit after. Not so much that you're like, oh, my mouth, we're not talking buffalo hot wings, but yet it was a heat that stuck with you. And that's not something that in past years I feel like we would have seen within the palette for a menu at a theme park.
That makes me really happy because, well, first, I haven't been to Tiana's place yet, even though I've been like 3 times. I just haven't gone in, but I did hear that the vegetarian gumbo is back because it used to be next door at French Market. And so everybody who liked this gumbo is super excited about it. So now I have to go back and get it. But I'm excited to hear that there's heat coming into the food, especially here in California with such a Mexican culture. Like there's hot sauce everywhere. I grew up on the East Coast, so I never had heat in my food ever. Even my mom now, I'll go and I will put hot sauce on things, and she's like, "Where did you come from? What happened to you?" But just being here in LA, everything is spicy, and so I'm glad Disneyland is finally like picking up on that. That's how we like our food out here.
Well, okay, so now I'm going to ask you, Heather, versus some suggestions. We're going to move over into those places that maybe if you're looking to kind of take a little breather, maybe you're looking to slow down the pace a little bit. What's a place that pops into mind?
I have a few. So my first one is not everybody's going to be able to go to. In fact, I can't even go anymore because it is the Magic Key Terrace at Disney's California Adventure. It used to be open to anybody, and you could just go up. Nobody knew about it, and you would walk up these stairs behind what is the name of the Italian restaurant? I'm blanking on it. But you would walk up these stairs, and there would be tons of waiters just sitting around, and nobody was there. They're little couches, and you could get a glass of wine or a charcuterie board or different appetizers, and just kind of sit there and like be above the crowds and take a deep breath. And it was my favorite place to relax. But now you have to be an annual pass holder.
Magic.
Not for me. I refuse to buy one.
I'm finally a Magic Key holder. It happened this year, so it's been a while. I
too, because they stopped selling them for a while.
I had been one for decades and decades. Moved to the other coast, and then finally came back to this coast, and they weren't available. And now, woohoo! I finally.
Well, now you can go because that's my favorite place. Literally, my favorite place to escape. But other than that, I really love the alfresco terrace or the inside area of the Carthay Circle lounge, not the dining room, the lounge. The lounge, especially inside. Outside has a beautiful view, and you can watch the theme park comings and goings. But inside, it's very dark and velvet, and you feel like you're in 1930s Hollywood. And they have this incredible list of cocktails that you would have gotten had you been in the Hollywood golden era, right? Like you feel like Greta Garbo is about to come around the corner, and like you should be dressed up in an evening gown, but of course you're not. You're in shorts and flip-flops, and especially when it's so hot here, that's a great place to just kind of get into like the cool air conditioning. It's dimly lit, and you can sit on these sofas and just get an hour or two out of the sun. And then third, I really love the Craftsman Bar and Grill over at the Grand Californian. Again, private entrance into and out of the theme park. You can go there, grab lunch, and be back in the theme park a half an hour later. Or you can sit there and spend the afternoon. In evenings, they have live music. They have TV, so if there's sports on, they have all, football, basketball, whatever sport. It's right by the pool, so you can watch kids splashing. Like, it's just a really nice place to be.
It's one of our favorite places. It's become a favorite for our family on our to-do list. I think just about every trip we took to Disneyland last year, we tend to go seasonally. I think every trip we ended up with a visit over at Craftsman. But the one thing that really surprised me was the portion sizes. They're quite substantial over there. We tended to walk away with, if we ordered a flatbread, we tended to walk away with some of it, and then we could, take it with us back to the hotel room, use that microwave in the room, be reheated in the morning, or have cold pizza in the morning. It depended, but yeah, just a great setting. By the way, regarding the terrace you were talking about, we used to eat there a lot when it was a restaurant, actually, back in the day. And that's where we first encountered lavender ice cream. They used to also do a dining package up there where you could see the parade, see the electrical parade from that balcony. So yeah, no, I'm excited to get back there as a magic key holder back up to the terrace. But yeah, Craftsman Grill was on my list. They had nachos there that were amazing. My husband is really fond of the pizzas there. One of the places that kind of popped out in my mind is over at Disneyland. I like to go over to Pizza Planet, but then eat out in that Space Mountain Q zone.
Yes.
It's like kind of, you end up going through the restaurant and out the back entrance, and there's a collection of booths and tables. The chairs are a little bit more cushy.
And they're almost always empty because nobody knows it's there.
Yep, it's often nice and quiet. And once again, this was a great place, especially when I was traveling there as a mom with a little. To just kind of have a moment to get him to just, settle down, focus on the food, take a little bit of time, let mom catch her breath after running around the park all day long. And he loved the pizza over there. I know, it's theme park pizza. I was fond of they had a fusilli pasta dish there with this really super creamy Alfredo sauce on it that was super flavorful and quite filling.
I haven't eaten there in forever, but there's a breakfast burrito that is on my list, and I tried to get it this past trip, and I just didn't have time, so I need to go back and try it.
And this is also one of those mobile order places, which, when you're traveling, especially when you're traveling with kids. And for me, I found myself often traveling to the park alone with my son in a stroller. Mobile order would have been life-changing for me back then, because back then it was me and the stroller walking up, ordering my food, grabbing my tray and my stroller, back to the idea that I could have ordered my phone and just walked up and kind of, had him visible nearby at a table and dash up, grab my food and come back. Would have been much easier.
Mobile order is so good. Like, you don't have to order right now, right? It could be 8 a.m. and you know that you want to eat at Pizza Planet this afternoon for lunch. You can order your food at 8 a.m. to pick it up at 12:30. So this way it doesn't become 12:30 and you're starving and there's an hour wait for mobile order or a 20-minute wait to stand in line. You just walk right up and get your food. It's so brilliant, and I love it.
And I love the flexibility to change, because sometimes we're like, oh, we're going to eat at this time. And then next thing we know, it's like, oh, wait, this queue is longer than we expected. You have a window. You can keep shifting that. You can keep shifting your food order out. There's a cutoff point, at some point you get to that point. But, I just, like I say, I really appreciate being able to push it out throughout the afternoon when things come up. Like, oh, Mom, look, there's only 15-minute wait for Star Tours. We should do that first before we go over to Adventureland for our food. Oh, okay, fine. Let me change our window.
Wait, I thought of another thing. I'm just going to keep adding things until you stop. So for tastes that we always have to have and that we dream about, the Impossible Shawarma breakfast wrap over in Avengers Campus. They have the tiny, tiny little shawarma cart. I guess there's two of them, one on each side. The breakfast shawarma may be the greatest breakfast I've ever had at a Disney park. Entirely plant-based. You don't have to be vegan to like this. Everybody likes it. But it's breakfast sausage patties, tater tots, vegan egg, melty vegan cheese, and then they give you a spicy maple syrup to dip it in. It's brilliant. It is so brilliant. It's so quick. Like you can eat it and walk if you wanted to. Like get breakfast and then go get in line for something. It's delicious. If next time you go, you have to have it.
And that's over at Avengers Campus, right?
Yeah.
Over near is it over by the Hyperion?
They have two. So the original is right by the entrance to Spider-Man, and then the second one is also right by the Hyperion.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. No, I will have to.
And you can mobile order there too.
Yay! Yay for mobile order. And we want to, for those of you who are East Coasters, I want to tell you, if you've been disappointed by Walt Disney World churros, everyone tells me Disneyland churros are so much better.
Disneyland churros are the best churros in the world, except for maybe street churros at the Tijuana border.
Okay.
That is a hill I will die on. Come fight me. Disneyland churros are the best churros.
And that's what I've been told. I personally am not a big fan of churros. So I tend to embrace when they really go out of their way to not be churros. For example, the one right now that they're doing during the Food and Wine Festival, it's super, super sweet and ridiculous. And it's like bananas and butterscotch and all that. And it's over at Willie's Churros. That I love because I like donut. But for whatever reason, I've never been a churro fan. But like I say, everybody tells me, if you don't think you've tried churros if you've only had them at Walt Disney World. Wait until you get to California and at the Disneyland Resort, eat your churro there, and then decide whether or not you're a churro person.
Yeah, the Disneyland churros are the best. They have traditional churros for you to try and compare, but like you were talking about, they have seasonal churros, and not just one seasonal churro. They have like 13 seasonal churros, and depending on where you go in the parks, different carts have different flavors. So I know they just had like the banoffee one you were talking about. They had a carrot cake one, which I was dying to try, but I didn't get down there in time. Like at Halloween, they have at least 20 different flavors of churros all over the parks. Like, so go on the Disneyland app and pull up, just search for churros. It's its own category, and they'll list all the different flavors and where you can get them.
And they're nice and they're big. Huge. So you can, we share them among 3 people typically because there's just, because it's fried dough. So, it can be a bit filling and a bit repetitive after too much. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to break it out. And then you get to eat more things because when you share your items throughout the day, then you can eat more things. Then you can have, space for that Dole Whip, which I still can't get over now at Disneyland. Okay, so the Dole Whip is right outside the main entrance to the Tiki Room. Mm-hmm. And the Tiki Room was originally conceived as a restaurant, right? And then they decided, oh, wait, you shouldn't have live birds over people dining. That's not a great idea. And then animatronic birds, and then no eating. And so growing up, food and drink were forbidden from the Tiki Room. You did not take, in fact, it was an exciting event. I one time got invited to an event and we had hors d'oeuvres in the Tiki Room. And it was like, oh, we're eating in the Tiki Room. It felt so forbidden. Now, go ahead, bring in your food.
Well, now they need to get people into the Tiki Room. And they're like, get out of the heat and bring your Dole Whip and come hang out.
So I suggest that Dole Whip. Grab that Dole Whip, go enjoy the air conditioning, the song, the shade. Take a nice respite with your Dole Whip in the Enchanted Tiki Room. It's right there, super convenient. And Dole Whips are always better at Disneyland than any other location. They just are. Well, as we wrap up, Heather, I want to make sure, is there any other places that we haven't, because there's so many places we haven't mentioned. That
I can go for 2 hours just listing every restaurant and what I eat there. The one thing that came to mind, because we were talking about churros, and this is not a thing that I can get often because it is a sugar shock to your system, but they have a churro funnel cake over at Hungry Bear. And so it's a funnel cake, but with churro flavoring. and butterscotch and whipped cream. Sometimes they'll change it up seasonally and offer like a spring churro funnel cake. But if you like funnel cake and you like churros, it has to be shared with 4 people. You can't do this on your own, but it's so delicious. Like it's just a really good, like sweet treat.
And we haven't even touched on the fact that the candy shop there makes amazing fresh.
Oh, all like the fresh brownies and cookies and candy apples. Gibson Girl Ice Cream Parlor. Way better than Main Street Ice Cream Shop in Florida.
Yeah, and you can do and with the Marceline Confectionery bring home, we used to go and get, literally as annual pass holders living in the Southern California area, my mom would get a craving for their English toffee. All the family would load up in the car. We'd drive down to Anaheim, buy my mom her English toffee.
My mom does that, and my mom lives in Florida and is an annual pass holder, and she does that for the carrot cake cookies at Hollywood Studios.
There you go. That's what happens. So mom and dad would go to the eatery, get her English toffee, and us kids would hit an attraction or two. We'd watch the fireworks, and then we'd all drive home because my family were night owls. So that was
a fantastic way to spend an afternoon.
The late evening of the Kaplan family. That's what we used to do. Doobie wants to make sure we give some hotel love. We've already talked a little bit about Craftsman Grill, but over at the Pixar Pier, that's a little bit farther. Now you're talking about a mile or so away. It's a little less convenient, but if you're looking at a place to start your day, fuel up at Great Maple over there at the Pixar Place Hotel. Really hearty, full breakfast. And then you can make your way, through downtown Disney and on into the theme parks over there. I'm just looking over my list real quick, making sure that there isn't anything that I've forgotten because, oh man, I'm so hungry now.
I know. It's almost lunchtime.
I was trying to think, do I have any like little Disney treats, squirreled away from a recent trip that I can go enjoy, but I don't think I do. I think I made my way through them after my last trip. So that's one of those things I'll sometimes do if I know I have trips about a month or so apart from each other, is I'll get something that can kind of keep that
through. That's smart.
But before we go, I do want to also talk about the fact that along with the tasty treats, they also do package their foods uniquely at Disneyland, and you have sippers and thermos tumblers and these popcorn buckets, and these are constantly changing, and there's new ones coming out all
every
the time.
2 weeks they have a new one, and you're like, you just heard about X Zipper, and now like they just announced the new Star Wars ones for season of the Force it's called, but the after there's Disneyland After Dark series, they have new sippers. The one of them is a Jabba the Hutt one, and it looks so ugly, but people are looking their minds over it.
I just want the little Salacious Crumb clip that's coming with it. That little rat-looking guy.
My Disney dirty secret is that I'm obsessed with glow cubes, and I have a whole box of them in my kitchen. And so if I'm having like an iced tea or a glass of wine, I throw whatever glow cube I feel like that moment, I throw it into my glass. But the collection has gotten out of control because I can't stop myself. Whatever new one they come out with, I have to have. Like they're just so cute.
I just can't, and they've gone from cube to everything. Over at Tiana, it's Ray the Firefly.
I have a Ray they had him years ago at Club 33, and a colleague of mine invited me there, and she's like, it went on the little kids cup, and she's like, you want that? I go, I need to have the Ray glow cube. And so he just he hangs out, he clips right to the side of your cup.
He's in my cabinet out in my living room. I have a cabinet of my collectibles, and then my Ray Firefly, because I am a recovering glow addict. I used to be. But then they're just too many. There were too many.
And they come out with I think they didn't have them this year at the Food and Wine Festival, but last year they had little bunches of grapes, but they were charms that you hung on the bottom of your wine glass. They have wine glass charms. They were these, and they had a green version and a purple version. And I was like, obviously I need both. Like those were cute ones. I liked those.
Oh man. Okay. So as we begin to wrap up, I'm just going to say if you're going to Disneyland and you're not terribly familiar with the app, browse the app, look through it for some of the dining. You can hit the dining portion of the app, scroll through the restaurants, get familiar with the time, how you can look for times, how you can look at menus. It'll make your trip so much more enjoyable because you can just stop for a moment and consider where you want to eat. Like Heather said, they've made it even easier for you now, where you can hit the button and it'll say which quick service locations or which locations have the soonest time slot available to you,
the ones that are closest to you. It's so much easier than it was even 6 months ago.
Yeah, so that's our big tip. I now am going to go figure out how to satisfy my cravings that have been sparked by today's discussion. But
they have like same day delivery of their snacks. That's what needs to happen next.
We were joking that they need like bench dash. Like you can pick a spot and you can like get them to bring. I'm on the bench on Main Street. Please bring me the beignets.
I can't leave my spot for the parade. Bring me food. I would pay for that.
bring me beignets from the window.
Especially if you're at like Pixar Place and you like manage to snag one of those tables over. Like, I'm not moving. Just bring me food.
I just joined the queue for Spider-Man, but I'm still accessible from the outside. Please bring me.
That's what needs to happen. We're starting a letter writing campaign to Disneyland.
If you're planning a vacation, we recommend our friend over at Mousefan Travel. They're incredibly knowledgeable about all things travel, especially within that world of Disney. But frankly, anytime I've had a travel question, I reach out to my friends at Mousefan Travel, and they're super helpful. They're always educating themselves on what's available out there so that they can give you the latest information regarding hotels, cruise lines. So greatly appreciate your time, Heather. I am looking forward to our next discussion. Not sure what it's going to be, but if you have suggestions, feel free to drop them in the chat.
We want to know what you want to hear about.
What should we talk about?
Doing the Disney World food, because I have a list a mile long there too.
We'd have to narrow that, right? It'd have to be like
magic. It would have to be by park or by like, okay, we're doing hotels this week or whatever, because that'll be a 3-hour episode.
And frankly, we could have done that here, right? Because Disneyland, California Adventure, Downtown Disney, the hotels, and then walk across the street in Anaheim, because you have, City Walk's not that far away. I enjoy Huckleberries over there for breakfast.
That's a good one. And there's a great place, I can't think of the name of it, but they make really cute boba teas and like little panda bear cups, and that's a good place too.
Oh wow! Okay, I'm gonna have to look that one up because I don't know.
I'll look it up. I'll send it to you.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so we will. I can see my husband already with the DCL food. Yeah. That's another one. But yeah, what we'd love to discuss hotel ideas, attraction ideas. So let us know what topics you're interested in, and we'll start to explore them over here with Heather. So thanks again for your time, and we will see you all real soon. Bye for now.
Thank you.